Hello, 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 my friends. Welcome to this Lunch and Learn with Twice Sheared Sheep. I am Erin Taves. I'm the host of the Mosaic Crochet Summit, and I am so glad that you guys are here. Can you guys hear me okay? Yes, good. We have feedback on your audio. Maybe I'm going to like close my other windows. Okay, good. Any feedback? I am um okay, good. Good, good, good. Hi Dawn. Hi Elaine. You still happy to be back. Elaine, I think you have two windows open. I think I saw that at the beginning. There's balloons. Hello. Um yeah, so Elaine, you have two Zoom windows open somehow. I'm not sure. I just remember seeing that when you logged on a while back. Um I don't know how to go in closed. I think you have to close down the program maybe. I don't know. Okay. We have one of our twice sheared sheep ladies here. Katie Burke, hello. Dawn, are you here?
I'm here now.
Oh,
Hello.
hi. Hello, hello. I'm going to make you a host somehow. Uh, uh, Let me put this. Okay, there we go. I found it. Okay. Okay, so Dawn Prickett, she is the owner, woman, lovely lady of Twice Sheared Sheep. I don't know what you want me to call you. And I'm so glad that you are here to do our lunch and learn. Thank you so much for believing in the summit enough to be our catalyst sponsor for the first ever Mosaic Crochet Summit. I'm just going to give it to you. Like, take it away.
Okay. First of all, so that I am aware of everybody's time, how much time do we have today? Do we have 30 minutes? Do we have an hour? How long do we have today?
Yep. So the next presentation starts in an hour. So do like 45 minutes ish so that people can, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm excited. Look at all the people. Yay! Look at all the people. Um, I'm slightly embarrassed about my sign above me that says knitter because actually I learned to crochet about a decade before I learned to knit. I learned to crochet as a teenager, and my very first crochet project, because I didn't know that this wasn't what I should do, was I crocheted a pair of slippers, but it wasn't like sock slippers. It was there was a double strand thick sole and then an upper part, and you had to sew everything together. And I didn't realize how complicated that was, and that I probably should have started with a granny square or something like that. Um, and then I think my second project was one of those mile a minute Afghans. Do you guys remember those? Am I dating myself? I see Jane is nodding. Yes. So I crocheted one of those mile a minute Afghans, which essentially is like um you do it in kind of long strips. So you do the center of the strip and then you do a border around it. And then you do another strip and you attach it as you go on the final thing or whatever. So I made an Afghan for my grandparents, which is kind of maybe the flip side of what normally it is, a grandparent makes an Afghan for their teenager. I as a teenager, I made an Afghan for my grandparents. Um, and so while I, like many things in the fiber world, you kind of fall down a rabbit hole and you do many, many things. I love crochet. I love how freeform it is. I love all of um, you're not as locked into a very specific thing as you are in knitting or in weaving in particular. Weaving is so rigid. You get this and you get this, and you have to play within that. So I was really excited when Erin reached out about the mosaic crochet because I think it gives you such an incredible opportunity to to really play with color and to create texture and all of these things. So tell me, as you've been going here today, before we dig into kind of some of the tips that I have for crocheters in specific, what has been your favorite thing that you have learned so far? What is your favorite class that you've seen? Go ahead and drop them in the comments, and I'm kind of reading and catching up as I've been going. Patricia, yep, you had to crochet stuff for your mom. I love that. Also, that you love crochet because it's easy to rip out. Yes. If you make a mistake, um, no harm, no foul. You can rip it all out and you don't have to worry about you're going to drop 5 million stitches or anything like that. Oh, Erin teaching us about her end stitch. Oh, Erin, I missed that. Tell me about the end stitch. Tunisian mosaic. Oh, um, I learned how to mosaic crochet this morning. Yay! Um, I learned about Tunisian crochet a few years ago and I had no idea. It's like the love child of kind of knit and crochet together. And I love this. Um, the overlay mosaic. Ooh, ooh. Okay, I'm taking notes. Katie, take notes for me of all the things that I need to go back and watch all the things. Um, how to correct without ripping everything out. Oh, 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 that is huge. Erin, you are so brilliant. Um, Tunisian crochet, yes. Oh, anchor stitch for the back. Nice. Oh my goodness. Okay. So I know that I'm here as a guest, speaking in the middle of the day, but I will also say that I am not an expert crocheter. I am not a crochet teacher. I am a little bit of an inventor, and what I have for you today are kind of just little tips and tricks that can help make your everyday crochet crafting a little easier. That what we do at Twice Sheared Sheep is that I like to say that we create helpful tools so that you can make more and frog less. Things that are going to help you keep track of where you are so that you have fewer moments where you feel like, oh crap, I got to rip everything out. Or I've got to use that new technique that I just learned so that I can fix it without ripping it out. We like to create as many tools as we can so that you don't have to do that as often. Because I think that as makers, as crocheters, that we like to make stuff, but I would rather spend more of my time making and less of my time trying to figure out what the heck am I doing? What row am I on? Where am I at? How did I screw that up? Why do I have extra stitches here? Why is my thing doing this? I would rather have more time actually making things. Um, I love that some of you have your cameras on. That really helps. I see Marie is crocheting while we're doing this. I have a question though, because this will help inform how I speak about some of our tools. Because how many of you here are what I like to call a knife grip crocheter, where you hold the crochet hook like this, and kind of like a spoon or like a knife or something like that? And how many of you are a pencil grip crocheter and you hold it like this and do it like that? Both. Oh, okay, Amy, that is amazing because I need to figure out how you do that. Knife gripper, pencil gripper. Okay, pencil grip knife. Um, no, not both, just okay. Okay, so we've got a few pencil grippers, mostly knife grippers, that helps inform how I'm going to talk about the tools and how you use them. Because pencil but knife for bulky objects. Oh, that's interesting, Martha. I had never thought about that if you're doing something bulky that you might need that extra hand to hold a little bit or something like that. Um, yeah. Okay. So I have four, maybe five, we'll see how much time we have, um, useful hacks or tips on how to make your crochet life easier. So we'll see if I have two cameras here. We'll see if they both work. I did notice as I was setting everything up today that I use an app called Droid Cam so that my phone can be a camera. And they changed something on me today, and now there's a lovely thing across the thing that says Droid Cam. And I feel really embarrassed that I look so professional. Um, Knife, but under my pinky finger. Oh, oh. Okay, so the first thing that I would like to talk about is how to wrangle all of your massive number of cast-ons when you do a chain or your chains. I know that there are fantastic techniques that I need to make myself bigger so that I can see things. Maybe this'll, nope, nope. Okay, gallery. Okay, um, that I know that there are awesome techniques to where you can do kind of a foundation chain where you're knitting your first stitch as well as you're doing your chain. But of course, when I learned to crochet back in the day, you begin everything with a massive chain. And so one of the ideas that I have for you, one of our hacks is to use stitch markers to help you keep track of how many chains you've done. Because I don't know how many of you, I have certainly started my chain and you start chaining away and you're like, yay, I'm chaining, I'm beginning things. And then you get about halfway through and you're like, oh crap, how many chains did I do? And then you have to go back and you have to count them. And then you get going again and you get past where you were. And then you're like, okay, wait, was that 56 or was that, particularly if I'm doing an Afghan or something large, I may have a lot of chains. So as you're chaining, I recommend that you place a stitch marker every so many stitches as you're casting on. So our cast on markers are labeled from 50 all the way up to 500, which is great for really long things like Afghans or something like that. But if you're doing something smaller, where you only have maybe 100 stitches and you're like, well, then I'd only have two markers and I forget sooner than that. My poor brain gets distracted pretty easily. So instead, if you take the marker, and this one is 50, if I can not get the glare, I'm going to take the zero, mentally take the zero off of this. And so now it's 5. So I'm going to put a marker on my stitch after I have crocheted 5, and then I'll crochet 5 more. And that now I have 10 stitches. So I'll put on my next marker to know that I have 10 stitches. And of course, you don't have to do it every 5 stitches. You can do it every 10 stitches. You can do it every 20 stitches. You can do it every 50 stitches. It depends on how many you are doing. See, and of course I'm talking and I can't even count to 5. Um, That's me. Before using markers, I would switch between recounting 3 times and then restarting. Yes. Um, a lot of the times, I know that you all are smart people. I mean, you're in this Mosaic Crochet Summit because you are smart and you can figure things out. It's not that I don't think that you can't recount your chains, just sometimes it makes your life easier if you don't have to recount your chains. So this is one of my favorite tips is to always use a stitch marker. I like these Melody stitch markers because I don't know if you noticed, they lock really well onto the stitch, but I don't have to use 2 hands to open a safety pin or something like that, that I can just place it across the loop and just pop it on and it'll stay right where it is. Menopause busted my counting abilities. Maybe that's my problem. I'm heading in that direction. Okay, the colored light bulb markers, those work really well, you know, so you don't necessarily have to use our cast on markers, but if you use like colored light bulb markers, if you use a different color, or even if you just put them if you make sure that you put them every 10 rows or every 5 rows. For larger projects, I find that when you lose track of how many chains, you get a different number every time you count them. Yes. One of the things that I do love about crochet, it is fairly forgiving, and I do firmly fall into the make it work camp of crafting. So as I am crocheting, I will, if I have an extra chain, I may skip it and shh, don't tell anybody. It's fine. It's fine. Um, Sometimes I will stab um, my hook in places that maybe wasn't supposed to be the place that I stab it, but it's fine. As long as my work turns out how I want it to be, then it's great. So that is tip number one, is to always use markers as you're casting on. Flip a contrasting yarn over the stitch so you don't have to stop working and manage a stitch marker. Interesting. That's a good tip. Okay, where am I at here? I can't talk and work at the same time. This is why I need lots of tools, is because if I go um, to my local yarn store or to a work along night where we're all knitting and crocheting together, that I get distracted and then I have problems. Okay. I should have been double crocheting. That might have made this easier and go better. I should have cast on fewer stitches because we're making our swatch as we go so that we can then use this to demonstrate things. So my second tip for the day is, if you have been a beginning crocheter, I think we have all been there, where as you're crocheting, your work suddenly starts to become a triangle when it's supposed to be a rectangle. Either it's getting wider as you go, or it's getting narrower as you go. And this is usually because I get to that edge stitch and I forget, is that an edge stitch? Am I supposed to work that edge stitch? Is that my turning chain? Does that count? What am I doing here? Oh, Sue, thank you. So my second tip, my tip number two, is that when I do my turning chain, I'm going to take a clip marker. So like these lobster claws, or you can use melody clips or something like that. And I am going to mark that stitch on the edge so that I can remember that that is actually a stitch that I need to work. And then when I turn my work and I work my way across, oh, excuse me, um, that I know that when I come back to that, that I have to work that stitch. And so I'll use, a lot of times I've got a clip marker on both sides of my work on that edge so that I can make sure that I never skip that stitch. I have to remember, okay, I'm double crocheting. I'm double crocheting. Of course, when we're talking about Tunisian crochet, then you get all the stitch markers, keeping track of where you are in the middle, because it is a lovely little hybrid. I always mark the edges, but when I started, I was told stitch markers were unnecessary. Oh, my friend. I have heard a lot from crocheters um, that because we are a tool company, I love to solve problems for people. And so I'll ask people, what problems do you find, and how can I help? And most crocheters, I think, are so used to making do of, all I need is a hook and I need yarn, or maybe somebody told them once upon a time that you don't need all those fancy things. All you need to do is read your work, and that you don't need any of that. Um, I am here to give you permission. It is okay to take the easy way. Just because you can do it the hard way doesn't mean you have to. Life shouldn't be hard. This is supposed to be fun. Okay, let's see. What did I miss while I was talking and crocheting? So I'm going to put my second marker on this other side. So I've got a double crochet chain that I did right here, my turning chain. I'm going to actually put it around my turning chain so that I know that um, that is a thing and I need to remember to do that. So that is my tip number two is always put a clip marker on your turning chains. Okay, sorry, trying to read and things at the same time. I'm looking up. Um, yeah, self-taught, and I have less silly rules. I love that, Nora. Isn't that funny how sometimes we make up silly rules for ourselves, and then when we pass them down to somebody else. Um, One of the great things about crochet is it is so incredibly freeform that while maybe there are rules of, okay, you have to make a double crochet like this. Otherwise, you know, if you read a pattern, it's not going to end up looking the same way. But honestly, how we get such incredible variety of projects is that somebody was creative and was willing to break the rules and say, what happens if instead of going in here, what happens if I wrap over and I go around here and create a post stitch instead? How is that going to make my crochet look different? How is that going to give me a different look? What if I do two crochet stitches in the same stitch? What's going to happen? Um, it's incredibly freeform and experimental like that. Uh, Welcome, Christina. I'm glad you came in late. Um, okay, Patricia, as long as they don't say hold my beer, watch this. Oh, I don't know. I think you could have some very interesting crochet if you say that. Okay, so that was tip number two. Okay, now that I am back to this took me a hot minute, ladies. I'm sorry. Or people. I don't know who all is in our group today. Okay, so now that I am back to my turning chain, I can see that I've got that stitch right there that reminds me because I'm right here at the edge and I'm like, have I hit that last stitch? And I'm not quite sure. This reminds me that no, I didn't. So I'm going to do that last stitch to finish it off. I'm going to do two chains for my turn, and then I'm going to move my clip marker up onto that chain and turn my work. There is so much chatter over here. Okay. Okay, we are on to tip number three. And for this, I'm going to have to ask you, all my crochet friends, to be a little open-minded. We've just been talking about how crochet is so freeform and so available to do all sorts of different things. I want you to be open-minded for you. So have you ever had a pattern that tells you that you need, like you're doing a washcloth or you're doing a blanket or you're doing something and you just need to work until the pattern is a certain length long? Maybe it'll tell you how many rows you need to do that. Maybe it won't. I've crocheted a lot of older patterns and that end up being more of a formula. Like here's the stitch pattern. You need to chain on X number of stitches or a multiple of 5 or something like that. Um, that and then it'll say, okay, now repeat that until your blanket is done. And I'm like, well, that's not very helpful. And so I had a friend who said that it was really frustrating that when you're getting close and you know that you're almost there, that you have to keep pulling out your measuring tape every row, every half a row, and you're like, am I there yet? Am I there yet? Because we all know that last couple of rows of a project is like the equivalent of a black hole in yarn. Like it takes so much longer and it takes forever. So we have what I call our work and tell measuring tape. And this is a measuring tape that is designed to sit on your work in order to so that you can see at a glance exactly how long your project has become. Now, the thing that I usually hear from crocheters is they're like, okay, Dawn, that has a solid loop at the top. How am I going to clip that onto my crochet? We are crocheters. We don't use solid loops. We hook it onto our crochet. Okay, hold on. Trust me. Trust me. Remember, I was a crocheter first. We are going to take our hook and we are going to put it onto our hook. And then we are not going to drop the Fancy Furls hook, and we are going to put the hook back through the loop. What this does is I'm going to let this sit on my hook behind my hand and behind the loop, and I'm just going to keep working with it just kind of sitting there. And the reason why I do this is one, I don't have to remember to move it up every row. Like a clip marker, I would have to, when I finish this row, I'd have to unclip it and clip it up the next row. This is going to just hang right here and it will always be at the top of the crochet. It will always be right there so that I can see it. Now, part of the reason why I asked if you are a knife grip or a pencil grip person is because you'll notice I am a knife grip person and my hook kind of slants down. And so it just kind of rolls out of the way. If you are a pencil grip person, and please forgive me, I'm going to try this so hard. I am not a pencil grip person. You are going to want to hold it in your hand as you are working, or you're going to want to put it behind your hand so that when it's facing up like this, it's not falling down in your way. And so you want to make sure that you've got it up here as you are working. Oh, look at that, ladies, I did it. I'm so proud of myself for being able to do the pencil grip. So you want to keep it out of the way, but it is still right here that when you need to see how long it is, it's right there. This also works for our chain row counters, which I had one on here on my desk. Okay. So this is also another tool that I love as a crocheter. Our chain row counters let you keep track of which row you are in the pattern at a glance without worrying about if you've got notes on your pattern or you've got a little sticky note with hash marks on it or something like that, that in the same way I can put my row counter onto my hook and then the loop onto my hook and I can carry it along with me so that I can always tell where I'm at in my project. I've got my little reminder loop here. So I'm going to work that last chain. I'm going to do my turn, move my clip. If your brain doesn't need all the helps, it's okay. You don't have to use all the helps. My poor brain does. And now I'm about ready to start another round. So I'm going to pull my hook out, move it to the next number, and put it back in the loop and turn and keep working. If you prefer, you can also, if you prefer, and you're working in the round, like for a hat, or I did, oh, I should have put that behind me. I did the Annie's Attic, one of their monthly crochet Afghan kits. Have you seen the mandala crochet Afghan? It is gorgeous, but it's done in the round because it starts with a center circle and then it works out. And so for that one, instead of carrying the instead of carrying the rope counter along as I went, I used the little melody clip that is attached to every row counter, and I clipped it onto the number that I was on, and then I clipped it onto the beginning of the stitch that was at the beginning of my round. So I knew when I came back to it, I could just unclip and reclip onto the next number in the chain. And then it can just kind of hang out on my thing. And when I stepped away to be able to, because a blanket is a long-term project, when I stepped away, then when I came back, my row counter was always here and I always knew exactly where I was at. In fact, because it's a monthly sort of thing, that you finish the month and then you come back a few weeks later and you're like, well, where was I at? This will tell you exactly where you're at. If you are using your row counter on your hook, I have another fun tip for you. So I guess this is tip number 4, 5. Okay. Have you guys seen these little, we call them cable locks? That these little doodads are one of my very favorite things. That I have a problem sometimes that when you're putting your project away for the night, you have a choice. You can either pull your loop out really long and hope that it doesn't unravel while you're overnight or something. You can flip a clip marker onto this so that it can't unravel, which I've done many times. Or what I have done in the past is I'll leave my hook in and then I'll like do this jobby where I weave it through my crochet and hope that it's not going to come out or do anything, and then you kind of wad it up and hope it's going to behave itself. I do that a lot if it's like a short time that I'm walking away. But I discovered that these awesome little cable locks, if you slide them onto your hook, particularly since I've got a hook with a larger handle, that means that my row counter isn't coming off my hook and my hook isn't coming off my work, which means I can put this in my bag and my hook isn't going to walk away. It's going to stay with my project. I'm going to stay exactly where I want. It's not going to unravel on me. And so this has been my new favorite little doodad to help me with that. And of course, Andrea, I love that. Of course, I know that you're going to say that, okay, well, this one is one of those fancy hooks that has a big grip. That's true. If you are old school and you prefer one of these sweet little hooks that are just so simple and so perfect, that I can take 2 cable locks. Where is my second cable lock? Oh, they're over here. So if I take a second cable lock, I can slide that onto the back end of my crochet hook. And now I've got a stopper on here for the work and tell measuring tape or the row counter, so it's not going to fall off the back end of the hook. It also lets me put a second cable lock on this side, and I can sandwich my things in between them so that it doesn't disappear. So even if you don't use a large grip crochet hook, if you prefer these little guys, that this will help keep you together as well if you use 2 cable locks instead of just 1. And they come in a pack of 4, so you've got plenty. Okay. I'm looking at back at people's things. Oh, you're a long loop, twist the yarn and ball stabber sort of person. Yeah. Trying to keep everything intact. Okay. Are there any questions that I missed? Um, oh, Sandra, I don't know whether I'm a genius, but I appreciate the thought. I just honestly, like I said, I really love to be able to help with the little problems that I know that we all have. It that I know we can all get by with a hook and maybe a little safety pin or something or a twist of yarn to keep us on track, but we deserve pretty things that are going to help us actually have a really good time knitting. Oh, did I do something? Somebody started a whiteboard. Close whiteboard. Okay. Are we good, Erin? Okay. Katie, can you post a link for the cable locks? Oh, okay. So you guys saw my carousel over here. This is what we call our yarn to go carousel. And this is a little portable yarn butler. So you saw my yarn was sitting on it and has been spinning around next to me. That what I love about it is that we went through 7 prototypes to get this so that it behaves itself and it's how we like it. If you've ever used a yarn butler before, you probably have one of 2 problems. One is the spindle is so tall, and if your skein isn't the same height as that, it sits next to you on the table, on the coffee table, and it's just a little bit below your hands. And that means that the yarn starts to wind around the top of that spindle and get stuck. And so when you pull on it, then it doesn't turn because it's gotten stuck on the spindle. Or that because it has gotten stuck, then you start to yank on it and it falls off the table because because it's not doing its thing. Erin is playing with her carousel over there. um, so we designed this so it has an intentionally very short spindle, so it's just tall enough for a standard cake of yarn. It's got these lovely little grippy feet on the bottom so it won't pull off the table. But of course, it's also not going to take up your entire house because it folds down super small and comes in this beautiful little carry bag. So it fits all inside this, so it can fit inside your bag. And the other thing is, if you are so inclined, you can take one of these wrist straps, and a purse wrist strap works great, or we have some in our shop. And then if you snap the wrist strap on, then you can hang it from your wrist as you're walking or working. My favorite thing, honestly, is I took this with me on an RV camping trip and we were gone for 10 days. And when I was inside the camper and my husband was driving and I got to be the passenger princess, I put this around that grab bar that's next to you. And it hung in front of me while I was working on my sweater. And then when we got to the hotel or if we got to the park or something like that, I would take the wrist strap off and snap it on its base. And then it would sit on the table next to me and I'd work on it there. And so this is one of those things that I never knew that I needed as much as I did, that I love it.
I'm gonna pop in and say I have 2, dropped the other part, for Mosaic crochet. So I just have those there and then it like keeps my yarn separate. I love it. So get 2 of them.
Yes. So they're not going to roll around in the bag together and cause problems. Yes. Yes. You hang the wrist strap above your aught light. Ooh, smart. Um, yes. So the cable locks we have 4 different sizes. I don't think I have a small one here, but the small one is not as great for crochet because, as we all know, the hooky part is not always the same size as the shaft part of a crochet hook. So sometimes it's a little bit bigger, but we have a small, we have a medium, we have a large, which is usually what I recommend for kind of medium-sized crochet hooks is a medium. And then we have the big extra large cable lock that'll work for almost every crochet hook. I always joke that this one makes me think, it's one of it's a cigar cutter or something, but it's not sharp, I promise. It's fine. Um, so yes, we do have big cable locks for bigger hooks too, particularly if you are working with all of that fantastic chunky yarn. Um, I have one more hack, and then we can ask all of the questions. So my last hack is gauge. Okay. How many of you here gauge is your very favorite thing? Um, I don't love to have um, to check my gauge. I find it confusing, and you've got the little square, and you're trying to see, okay, do I squish my crochet so that they all touch each other? Do I expand it out? Do I make it do all the things? How do I, if I'm looking in that square, does that half of a stitch count? How do I do this? Um, so we made this this happy tool, which I may have to do it on here so you can see it on the white. This is what I call my quick gauge tool. So there is no math involved. There's no trying to squish it inside of a box or a square and see if that half stitch counts. All we're going to do, and let me see, can I, oh my gosh, I can zoom in, people. Like, it is a miracle. Okay, all we're going to do is we're looking at our boxes and we want to find, maybe I don't want to zoom in quite that much. We want to find the one that our stitches are going to line up inside the boxes perfectly. So if I've got my boxes and I'm going along and like this line right here is halfway over a stitch, or these lines don't line up exactly in between stitches, then that is not um, the right gauge. So we want to lay this over our work, and then we are just going to look at our boxes, and I know we're going to be on this side because I've got a big chunky thing. And I'm just going to kind of lay things over here until I find one where my stitches are lined up directly inside. So let me see if I can get this on camera. Okay. So we've got my stitches right here, and you can see that, okay, I'm going to line up right along the edge of this. And now this one is kind of partway onto that stitch, and now this one is like halfway through the middle of my stitch. So this is probably too small. So I'm going to scoot it up, and I'm going to look at this one now. And I'm like, okay, well, this one is halfway across the stitch. So I'm going to move it up, and I'm going to try this one. And you can see this one, I've got the lines perfectly in between my stitches. And so even my double crochets are going to fit into these boxes. And I'm going to read what's at the bottom. I've got 3.5 stitches to an inch. So that tells me this is my gauge for my swatch, which for many things probably don't matter as much to you. But if you begin to do garments or you begin to do, I once crocheted this amazing teddy bear for a friend. And I used worsted weight instead of the Fit Sport weight or something that it suggested. I didn't realize my teddy bear ended up about 3 times as big. And it was wonderful that it was 3 times as big. But getting your gauge correct um, is going to help so much. Yes, this tool is both knit and crochet. So everything that I have shown you today can be used for both knit or crochet. And I try very hard to make sure that as many of our tools can be used for both as possible, because again, I am a by crafty person and I love it. Um, Rue, it's your favorite thing so far? Yay! Okay, we have hit, thank you, Katie. I always forget to tell people that there's a coupon code if you saw something here that is going to make your life easier, is going to make your life better, please use the coupon code Mosaic Crochet and you can get 20% off your order. But even if you don't buy our tools, if you don't come to our website, I hope that you found some techniques and some tips that could be helpful for you with the things that you have and that can help you get more out of your crochet. So, yay. Thank you so much, Erin, for letting me be part of this. I appreciate you so much. You guys are amazing.
Dawn,
Oh,
thank you so, so, so much for being on here with us. And thanks again for being one of the sponsors for the summit. You really made this all possible, like things such as upgrading the Zoom when we met our capacity. So thank you for that.
you are amazing. Thank you so much. Are there any questions? I know that we've hit our time, but are there any questions or anything that I can answer? Anything that I can help you with? Oh, you all are so welcome. I'm glad that it was helpful. Yay, yay. Okay, then if there aren't any other questions, we will drop off because I know there's another presentation at the top of the hour, and everybody probably poor Erin probably needs to go get a drink and figure out what she's doing and all of those things. Thank you
Thank
for putting
you.
this on.
Thank you.
Goodbye,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you so much.